Dear students, welcome back. You will have watched the poem Song of a Dream on the Victor's channel. So now let's have a detailed look at the poem. Once in the dream of a night I stood, lone in the light of a magical wood, soul deep in visions that poppy-like sprang, and spirits of truth were the birds that sang, and spirits of love were the stars that glowed, and spirits of peace were the streams that flowed in that magical wood in the land of sleep. So, here the poet, that is Sarojini Naidu. Who is Sarojini Naidu? Do you know her? Yes, she is a freedom fighter. Very good. And one more thing about her. She is known as what? The Nightingale of India. ഇന്ത്യയുടെ വാനമ്പാടിയാണ് എന്ന പേരിലാണ് അവർ അറിയപ്പെടുന്നത്. So she is telling about her dream. Once the dream of a night I stood, lone in the light of a magical wood. So she is telling she was in a dream of a night. In a night she was dreaming. And in that she was standing lonely. Lone means lonely or techie. In the light of a magical wood forest. So she was standing in a magical forest in her dreams. So which is that magical forest? Yes, it's the independent India. That magical forest is independent India. Swadandriyam nediya India. So that was her dream. Soul deep in visions that poppy-like sprang. So her vision were springing like poppies. What is a poppy? Poppy is a flower. Very beautiful flower. But it's not so good also. Because it's a flower with sedative effect. ഒരു മയക്കുമരുന്നിൻ്റെ സ്വഭാവമുള്ള പൂവാണ്. മണത്താൽ നമ്മളവിടെ ബോധം കിട്ടുകയും. So, soul deep in visions that poppy-like sprang. So, she was having vision, കാഴ്ചപ്പാടുകൾ, which was soul deep, which was from her soul, ആത്മാവ്, that was springing like poppies. What was that visions? Her visions of India getting the independence. എന്താണോ സരോജിനി നായിഡുയുടെ കാഴ്ചപ്പാട്? It is getting independence, and for her that is something which is giving a kind of a sedation, a kind of a happiness to her. And spirits of truth were the birds that sang. So she compares the spirits of truth to the singing of the birds. And why does she compare that to the singing of the birds? Because birds are something which are always telling the truth. They are a part of nature, and nature never tells lies. And spirits of love were the stars that glowed. And what were the spirits of love? Were the stars that were glowed. Glowed means shined, that were shining. And the spirits of love were the shining of the stars. And there were a lot of stars in the sky because it was night time. രാത്രി സമയമാണ്, ആകാശത്ത് നിറയെ നക്ഷത്രങ്ങളാണ്. So she considers that stars as the spirit of love. And spirit of peace were the streams that flowed. And she considers the spirit of peace to the streams. What is a stream? Yes, the river. The spirit of peace were the streams that flowed, because a river never ends. It goes and joins the sea. അത് ഒഴുകി കടലിനോട് പോയി ചേരുന്നു. So it is considered as a spirit of peace, സമാധാനം, ശാന്തത. In that magical wood, in the land of sleep. So she is in a magical wood, she is in a magical forest, in that land of sleep, because it is her dreamland. സ്വപ്നത്തിലെ ലോകമാണ്. And if you have to dream, you have to go to sleep. So here, Sarojini Naidu is telling about what? Her dreams about an independent India. We studied the story of Mikali. A story is for understanding, whereas a poem is for appreciation. നമ്മൾ ഒരു കഥ പഠിക്കുന്നത് മനസ്സിലാക്കാൻ വേണ്ടിയാണ്, പക്ഷേ ഒരു കവിത പഠിക്കുന്നത് ആസ്വദിക്കാൻ വേണ്ടിയാണ്. So a poem is for appreciation. So for appreciation, we have to know the theme and we have to identify the poetic devices in the poem. So now let's look at the theme of Song of a Dream. Song of a Dream by Sarojini Naidu is a beautiful lyric written in a philosophical mood about a dream in which the poet attains perfect peace and serenity. The poem abounds in romanticism, lyricism, and imagination. So when you are writing an appreciation, this makes up the first paragraph of your appreciation. നിങ്ങളുടെ ആസ്വാദന കുറിപ്പിന്റെ ആദ്യത്തെ പാരഗ്രാഫാണിത്, in which there is the name of the poem, name of the poet, and the theme of the poem. So when you write an appreciation, this is the first paragraph of your appreciation. In this, there is the name of the poem, there is the name of the poet, as well as the theme of the poem. ആസ്വാദന കുറിപ്പ് എഴുതുമ്പോൾ ഇതാണ് ആദ്യത്തെ പാരഗ്രാഫ്. കവിതയുടെ പേരുണ്ട്, കവി ആരാണെന്നുണ്ട്, അതിൻ്റെ ആശയമുണ്ട്. The second paragraph is the explanation of the given lines. Let's see the explanation of the given lines. Once in a dream of night I stood, alone in the light of a magical wood. So these are the first two lines. Let's look at the meaning of these two lines. In the poem, she sings of one of her dreams in which she stood alone in a magical wood. The next line, soul deep in visions that poppy-like sprang. She says her soul was immersed in deep visions which were products of fantasy that sprang like poppies. And the next line, and spirits of truth were the birds that sang, and spirits of love were the stars that glowed, and spirits of peace were the streams that flowed in that magical wood in the land of sleep. She then goes through a unique experience where she meets spirits of truth that sing, spirits of love that glowed, and spirits of peace that flowed like divine streams. So this makes the second paragraph of your appreciation. Coming to the third paragraph, which is the poetic devices in the poem. The rhyming words are words ending with same sound but in different lines. So this is our first stanza. So now let's see how to make or how to find out the rhyming words. A rhyming word takes into account the last word of a line. So let's look at the last words of the given lines. So stood, wood. So the rhyming word here is student, wood. Sprang, sang. The rhyming word is sprang, sang, because both are ending with n sound. Glowed, flowed, which are the rhyming words because ending with the d sound. A rhyming word is taken only from a stanza. A stanza is a paragraph in a poem. Coming to the rhyme scheme. It is a pattern in which rhyme is ended. It is usually referred by using letters to indicate which lines rhyme. It is also based on stanza. And what is a stanza? I told you earlier, stanza is a paragraph in a poem. So this was our first stanza. And which were the last words here? Stood, would, sprang, sang, glowed, flowed, and sleep. So these are the last words, right? And when you are making a rhyme scheme, you have to use the letters of the English alphabet. English അക്ഷരമാലയിലെ ആൽഫബറ്റുകൾ വെച്ചാണ് നമ്മൾ rhyme scheme കണ്ടുപിടിക്കുക. So the first sound is given the first letter. ആദ്യത്തെ ശബ്ദത്തിന് ആദ്യത്തെ ലെറ്ററാണ്. So which is the first letter? A. Stood. So the sound A. Next is would, which is again the sound A. Sprang is the ng sound B. Sang, which is again ng sound B. Glowed. Here you will have a confusion whether to use A, right? Actually it is not A, because in stood the D sound is very strong, whereas in glowed the D sound is weak. സ്റ്റുഡിൽ ദ ശബ്ദം വളരെ ശക്തിയുള്ളതാണ്, ഗ്ലോഡിൽ അത് ശക്തിയില്ലാത്തതാണ്. So the sound is different. So it uses the next letter C. Float C and sleep D, because it's not in any of this. And the rhyme scheme is AA, BB, CC, D. So the rhyme scheme of this stanza is AA, BB, CC, D. So when you are told to write the rhyme scheme, you have to write just only this. Rhyme scheme എഴുതാൻ പറയുമ്പോൾ ഇത് മാത്രം എഴുതിയാൽ മതി. AA, BB, CC, D. You don't have to write the whole thing. ഇത് മുഴുവൻ എഴുതേണ്ട ആവശ്യം ഇല്ല. Coming to the next one. Images. Images are used to give sensory experiences. The senses are sight, sound, taste, touch, and smell. Sight is visual image, sound is auditory image, and smell is olfactory image. In this stanza or in this poem, we have only these three images. So we will look into that. ഈ കവിതയിൽ ഈ മൂന്ന് ഇമേജുകൾ മാത്രമേ ഉള്ളൂ. So let's look into that. Image. Alone in the light of a magical wood. Here, when you read this line, you get a picture in your mind. Right? So, a person standing in a magical forest which is covered with light. So this is a visual image. Coming to the next one. And the spirits of truth were the birds that sang. Here, when you read this line, you get a sound in your mind. And that is an auditory image. Deep soul vision that poppy-like sprang. When you read this line, you get a smell of poppy flowers. So it's an olfactory image. Coming to the figures of speech. Deep soul vision that poppy-like sprang. Here, deep soul vision is compared to springing of poppies, using the word like. So when you make a comparison using the word like, it is an example of a simile. And the spirits of truth were the birds that sing. Here, spirits of truth is compared to birds that sing. And it is a direct comparison without using like. So you find spirits of truth compared to the birds that sing, and it's a direct comparison. And when you have a direct comparison, it is called a metaphor. Alone in the light of a magical wood. Here, a sound is repeated in the beginning of the word. Alone in the light, you find the L sound repeated, right? So it is called an alliteration. Dear students, let's look at the appreciation of the poem Song of a Dream. Song of a Dream by Sarojini Naidu, the Nightingale of India, is a beautiful lyric written in a philosophical mood about a dream in which the poet attains perfect peace and serenity. This poem abounds in romanticism, lyricism, and imagination. In the poem, she sings of one of her dreams in which she stood alone in a magical wood. She says her soul was immersed in deep visions, which were products of fantasy that sprang like poppies. She then goes through a unique experience where she meets spirits of truth who sang, spirits of love who glowed, and spirits of peace that flowed like divine streams. The poem can be read in the light of India's turbulent freedom struggle when the three qualities that the poet mentions were being violated by the Britishers. The poem is infused with so many visual and auditory images. The visual images include visions springing like poppies, truth as birds, love as stars, and peace as streams. Besides, the song of the bird can be considered as an auditory image and the smell of poppies as an olfactory image. The poet instills perfect lyrical quality in the poem by maintaining a smooth rhythm and a rhyming scheme AA, BB, CC, D. The phrase "lone in the light" gives alliterative effect of repeated consonant sound. To contribute to the figurative meaning of the poem, the poet has cleverly used a simile in the third sentence, visions that poppy-like sprang, and metaphors when talking about spirits of truth, stars of love, and streams of peace. We can conclude by saying that the poet exhorts us to create a heaven-like perfect place where everyone lives harmoniously as a single but a great human family. So this is an appreciation of the poem. Okay, now let's come to the question answers. What are the spirits of truth compared to? To the birds that sing. Next one. What are the spirits of love compared to? Stars that glow. Next one. What are the spirits of peace compared to? Streams that flow. The next question. Why are the spirits of truth compared to the birds that sing? Birds spread a positive vibration wherever they go. Next one. What are the soulful visions compared to? The soulful visions are compared to poppies.